Welcome back to another edition of Make Sports Easy College Football Edition, where at Make Sports Easy, we're here to make sports a little more digestible, try to condense it, and make it easy for you to understand, easy for you to explain, and more easy for you to enjoy. So with that, we're going to talk about a little bit briefly about what happened in week 3 and talk about what's going to happen and look forward to in week 4. So we're going to do 4 on 4. So you got 4 quarters. You know what I'm saying? We're going to go straight to that. You got 4 downs. We're just going to stick to that number 4. So the 4 things from last week we can look at is Notre Dame. Notre Dame rebounded from a tough loss against Northern Illinois. They look dominant in doing so, running the ball, dominant on defense as well. We'll see how they do as the season progresses, but a nice bounce back win overall after a very shocking loss to Northern Illinois squad who was looking to make some noise. Also, let's talk about, my goodness, the top 10. It's littered with its SEC teams, which will go into conference realignment later on in the season. But 6 in the top 10, even more so 6 in the top 7. If it wasn't for Ohio State, it'd have been a clean sweep where all the top teams would have been from the SEC. So we'll see how that affects things in the playoffs. More than likely, they'll all play each other and knock each other out of that, while other teams from the outside will come and jockey for position. But that's a very telling sign that the SEC, with the addition of Texas and Oklahoma, is very dominant. What we have to look forward to also, one of the third thing is Oklahoma. Oklahoma is having their SEC debut. Even though they're undefeated, they're outside of the top 10. So we'll see how they will fare. And it may be a little too soon to tell, but there's a new number 1 in town. And that number 1 is Texas. So I don't think it's out of bounds to say Texas is back, because they're number 1 and they haven't been number 1 since 2008. So what can we take from that? Not a whole bunch, but they got 2 quarterbacks that can get it done, that are ranked, or they have betting odds to win the Heisman. The backup has greater odds to win the Heisman than the starter. Quinn Ewers is the leader of that team. Their head coach has come out and said whenever he gets healthy, he'll get the reins back. It's not a competition of sorts, but Arch Manning, the legacy that he has all the way back to his grandfather, there's no more need to be said, because he put tape on the field and he's doing a great job running that Texas offense. So we'll see how Texas performs. 16 years since they've been in that number 1 slot. Let's see if they can continue on. So that's the 4 things from last week. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to be expecting. Basically, look at the games that we got. So we can start with the 2 nightcaps. Number 1, let's go with Colorado. Colorado had a good win last week, bouncing back from a beatdown by Nebraska. And they go into Baylor looking to open up their Big 12 conference play. Now with that, they're going into a hostile territory. How do they deal with success? That is a big thing to look out for. Baylor hasn't really been tested yet. And Colorado, will see if they're contenders or pretenders in this Big 12 conference and overall in the playoff picture. Number 2, the other nightcap, we have Nico and the Tennessee Volunteers going into Norman. Let's see what they can do against Boomer Sooner, Oklahoma Sooners, and the Fighting Brent Venables. That's the head coach. We'll see what they can do, as they haven't really had a tough schedule, and they're still figuring things out, with Tennessee from last year, the year prior to, having very explosive teams, really have a culture set and, a playing style that they're comfortable with. They have a up-and-coming superstar, you could say outside Heisman dark horse, and Nico. I'm going to get his last name before the end of the season. Iamaleava. I know I just murdered that. I'm going to get that right. But he's really looked fantastic. He has excellent size, excellent athleticism, and he knows how to run that offense. So we'll see how they go up against a defensive-minded coach who was the D coordinator at Clemson, and won the Assistant Coach of the Year award and has all these accolades, national champion. Let's see how he transfers that to the head coaching job at his alma mater in Oklahoma. So with those two down, we got two left. So we're going to move to the ranked versus ranked games. USC, the Trojans go into the big house to fight, to go against Big Blue. I got the theme song in my head. But let's see how Michigan responds after just getting beat down a couple weeks ago in their own house. Very unexpected. So let's see how they respond, really. Because USC looks like they have a defense now. Michigan, not really sure where their quarterback is. So time will tell on all those things. So let's just stay tuned. And things to look out on there is those two things. Really, how does their defense, being the USC Trojans, match up against the offense? And that'll tell you how that game is going to go. I believe Lincoln Riley had that offense humming, and Michigan's defense should have a little something to say when it comes to that topic of conversation. But ultimately, if Michigan can't score, Michigan won't win. If they can't compete with the firepower that USC has to offer, then it's really just a done deal. So finally, we'll go to the Utah Utes and Oregon State. That is a Big 12 matchup that I think will be very special. I think it should be probably a shootout. The only factor in that is if Cam Rising, the starting quarterback who has played at Utah forever, I don't know how long, like at least 7 years he's been there. He's had a lot of injuries, which he's dealing with right now as well. So let's see how they can turn things around with or without him. Last year, they had to play a ton of games without him. It was a bit unfortunate because the team was very talented, well coached, Kyle Whittingham. Let's see if Utah can pull it out and, continue their dominance as a program overall. Really feel like Cam Rising, whether he plays or doesn't play, is going to be the factor. You can't go without him for so many times before it really starts to affect your program. Thankfully, or fortunately, the backups have had experience because they've had to play in spells for him in the past. So with that, y'all enjoy week 4. Can't wait to get into these next weeks of games, because as we get into conference play, the competition is going to be ramped up, and we'll have a bit more of a flow to everything that we got going here at Make Sports Easy. If you enjoyed our preview recap, go ahead and hit that like, follow, subscribe, and we'll catch y'all later on in the week. Make Sports Easy. Take care.